Consider something strange with me. There is a strange thing that happens when a faith survives long enough. At first, it is fragile. It gathers in homes, and it prays in secret. It carries its truth like a candle in the dark, shielding its flame from the wind of the empire. But if that flame survives long enough, one day it may no longer be hiding from the empire. One day it may become the fire at the center of the empire itself. And when that happens, the story changes. The persecuted become the protected. The outsiders become the institution. And the faith, once accused of corrupting the world, becomes the faith deciding what corruption is. So today, I want to talk about how a persecuted faith became an imperial force, and how Christianity spread not only by overcoming the old world, but by carrying pieces of it forward. Welcome back, my fellow stranger, to another episode of Traversing the Strange World. And I'm your host, Isaiah Danbury. And you're listening to another installment of the Thursday Journal, Notes from a Modern Man Living in a Strange Land. And today, we are going forward in the history of Christianity. We will be recalling its history from the angle of how it absorbed many of the traditions of the cultures that it overtook, and how the persecuted became the persecutors. Once again, let us traverse this great mystery. Before Christianity gained power, it was seen by the Roman Empire as dangerous. Not because the Christians had armies. They were dangerous because they were outsiders. They refused to participate in the sacred order of the world around them. In the Roman Empire, religion was not just a private belief. It was public loyalty. They believed the gods protected the city, and the rituals protected the empire. To honor the gods was to honor Rome itself. So when the Christians refused to offer sacrifices to the Roman gods, Rome did not always see that as a personal religious choice. Rome saw it as a rebellion. Christians were accused of being atheists. Though they believed in one God, they were called atheists because they rejected the many gods of the Roman Empire. They were accused of being antisocial. They would not fully participate in public religious life. And this became one of the forces that shaped early Christianity. Persecution gave the church its heroes through the form of martyrs, and it gave many of the believers a story of endurance. A Christian who refused to bow became a witness. The one who died rather than sacrificing became proof that his faith was not just an opinion, but something people were willing to give their lives for. Before Christianity absorbed the outer world, it first had to survive the world. And that survival created a powerful identity. We are not Rome. We are not the empire. We are the people who belong to another kingdom. They themselves believed they were not to be of this world. For many years they worshipped underground. But one of the most fascinating parts of Christian history, when one converted, it did not always mean erasing the old world. But over time, as Christianity grew away from its Jewish roots, life did not always mean erasing the old world. Sometimes it meant walking into the old world and changing the name of the door. After Christianity received imperial recognition and had imperial backing, there was no more dwelling in houses, going underground. They moved into public places, and sometimes those public places were pagan temples. And a pagan temple did not always have to be torn down. Sometimes the idol was removed, and holy water was sprinkled. An altar was built, and the building became the church. I know this might sound like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. It was a missionary strategy. It was reinterpreted. The sacred grove became associated with the saint. The holy well became a healing site, and old festivals were given Christian meaning. Christianity became powerful enough to bury paganism, but also became flexible enough to carry pieces of paganism forward under Christian names. You can still see this process in holidays people celebrate today. And I think Christmas is the easiest example. Not because Christmas is secretly fake, but because December was already filled with winter festivals. Festivals of light symbolism. feasting, gift-giving, and evergreens, and the hope that the sun would return after the darkest part of the year. Christianity placed the birth of Christ into that season and gave the old longing a new center. The world was waiting for light. Christianity said Christ is that light. And Halloween carries the same kind of strange layering. Behind the costumes, behind the dead, the spirits, you can still feel older Celtic customs connected to old Celtic traditions. But then the Christian calendar places All Saints' Day and All Souls right on top of that season. Right on top of that season of death and remembrance. Easter is more complicated. At its center, it is deeply Jewish. Passover, resurrection, liberation. But in the English-speaking world, even the name Easter may carry an older spring association. And it gathers symbols of fertility, eggs, rabbits, dawn, and returning life. Christianity did not simply erase the calendar of the ancient world. It climbed inside the calendar. It took winter and spring harvest, death and love, fire and fertility and light, and retold them through the story of Christ, saints, and the church. And I believe this is part of why Christianity spread so rapidly. It did not always demand that people abandon their old lives overnight. It could walk into the world people already knew and say, this feast, this season, this holy place, all of it was reaching toward something deeper. And now we give it a Christian name. This was extremely effective. Because people do not live by ideas alone. They live by songs, meals, seasons, and symbols. So when Christianity entered a new culture, it often did not destroy the entire emotional world of the people. It gave it a reinterpretation. The winter fire of the Yule log becomes the light of Christ. The spring fertility festival becomes the resurrection. The local protector becomes a patron saint. And this is why the history is so fascinating. Because Christianity became universal partly because it was adapted. It could move from Jerusalem to Rome, and from Rome to Ireland, and still find a way to speak the language of the people it reached. And it leaves us with a complicated truth. Christianity did not survive history by remaining untouched. It survived history by learning how to carry history inside itself. The faith that once survived persecution eventually gained the power to persecute. The people who once refused to bow before Rome's sacred order now help build a new sacred order of their own. And once Christianity became tied to the empire, disagreement was no longer just disagreement. It became heresy. It became a threat to unity. Pagans, rival Christian groups, and local traditions all began to feel the pressure of a faith that now had law, bishops, and emperors behind it. That is the great tragedy of the reversal. A movement built around a crucified man eventually became powerful enough to crucify the memory of others. Not always literally, but culturally, spiritually, historically. The persecuted faith became the gatekeeper. Once it held the keys, it decided which truths were holy, which were heresy, and which ones were better left buried. Many, many, many did it bury. Christianity did not spread into an empty land. It spread into a world of gods. Old gods of Rome, the gods of Greece, Celtic spirits of forest and field, the Germanic gods of war, thunder, fertility, and fate. Much of the world was condemned. Some of it was mocked as superstition. Some of it was demonized. Some of it was outlawed. Some of it was forgotten so thoroughly that only fragments remain today. But Christianity did not only destroy paganism. At times it absorbed it. The temples became churches. Heroes and demigods were replaced by martyrs, miracle workers, and saints. The old world did not completely vanish. It changed clothes. And in that strange disguise, part of the old world survived. This is the snowball of Christian history through the lens of synchronism, a historical footprint of Christianity. It proves to us that, well, it simply came to us through people, just like me and you. People with preconceived ideas. That just shows the humanity behind it. It shows us that it was preserved by humans. And we see the humanity in it. The humanity is that our past, a domino effect that is our life and our makeup as a human. It at times will always affect how we perceive the truth, how we see the future. Christianity, over the history, was formed by people just like us. I think that should give us grace. I think thoroughly examining the snowball of any belief can make us less dogmatic, make us less quick to create others, to jump to this us versus them mentality. If we see the inconsistencies, to do our due diligence of thoroughly examining, to know and see something as it truly is. This is a part of it. Does this discredit Christianity? No, it does not necessarily. It may make us question the inerrancy, but it should not necessarily make us doubt the religious experience. We humans certainly can experience the sublime. We can feel inklings of something beyond us. And how we interpret that is going to be how we interpret that. There's a little bit of us in there, and maybe a little bit of something bigger. And I'm going to end it with that. Thank you for tuning in to another installment of the Thursday Journal. Notes from a modern man living in a strange land. If you're listening on YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave a little comment down below. Let us know what stood out to you the most. And let us keep traversing this great mystery. Let us keep traversing this strange world. Let us always be introspective. Let us always be curious. Let us be neighborly to folks, because we were just kind of cast into this whole life thing. We were given snowballs. We do not fully understand. So at the end of the day, we're all just strangers in a strange land. Until next time, peace.